All right. Thank you for joining us. Welcome everyone to our RAM Ready student panel. During this time, we are going to basically share our experiences. We have a few student ambassadors with us. So they are current students at Fresno City College. They have a lot of experience to share with you guys. Just a reminder, please check out our other panels going on, our other presentations. We have a lot of resources available for you guys to be successful for your upcoming semester. And also for this session, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to use the chat function below, and we will try to get to as many of your guys' questions as we can during this time. Before we start, I'm going to go ahead and ask our ambassadors to go ahead and share their name with you, give you their major as well, what they're studying this semester. So we're going to go ahead and start with Ray.
Hello, my name is Ray. My major is psychology, and I started at Fresno City fall of 2019.
Hey, my name is Jaden. I'm a music major. I started at Fresno City actually last year during the fall, 2019.
And Maria.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm a student ambassador. My major is criminology, and I started school last year during the summer of 2019.
Hello, my name is Giselle. I am a current allied health major. I will be applying to the registered nurse program in the spring of 2021. I was attending Fresno State at the beginning, but then I dropped because of personal issues, so I decided to return to college in 2019.
Thank you. Alex?
Hey everybody, nice meeting everyone. My name is Alex. I'm a Fresno City College student ambassador. I started at Fresno City College about 2-ish years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago. Just recently got accepted to Fresno State into their business programs. Definitely one of the best business programs in California. So super proud to be a part of Fresno State now. Nice having everybody. Nice meeting everyone.
All right, thank you guys. And my name is Erica. I'm going to be the facilitator for this panel. I am a student as well, and I am majoring in social work. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Now that everyone's introduced ourselves, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in so you guys are able to hear a little bit more about our ambassadors. One of the biggest things, as you guys know, is we all are going to start online classes this fall semester. So I know that is it's new for you guys, especially if you guys just came out of high school. It's a big transition for everyone. And so we actually last spring, in the spring semester, started online classes mid-semester. So we're going to get a little bit of insight on how our student ambassadors are able to handle those classes. So Ray, how are you doing, or how was your experience with online classes so far?
Well, when everything first started, of course, it was difficult because it was something new for everyone to get used to because everyone was so used to being on campus. But I felt like the more we got into it, the more students communicated with teachers, it really got easier for everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Jaden?
Personally, it was hard for me being a music student. It's kind of hard to learn music through a computer or through online. So it was a little tough for me, but what I brought out of it is can you guys hear me? No? Yeah?
Hear you.
Okay. What I brought out of it is being able to learn from the comfortableness of your home, basically. It's kind of a perk because you're not sitting in a classroom. You're not going to fall asleep while on Zoom, or you might, but you're not going to fall asleep in front of the teacher's face while on Zoom. So I feel like being able to be comfortable at home is also a perk and a benefit.
Yes, thank you.
Hi again. For me, it was very hard. I'm a criminology major, and I was taking math, and math has always been very, very hard for me. So when we turned into online class, it became very difficult because I was used to the professor, teaching me, being hands-on, and being right there when I needed him I don't know, to help solve a math problem. So when we transitioned online, it was harder, and I ended up dropping math class, which is the hardest subject for me. So it was very hard, and for the other classes, they became easy, but I did have to set timers for myself, like on my phone. That way I wake up early to log in on Zoom. But yeah.
Thank you. Giselle?
So my personal experience to online at first was a little intimidating and scary at the same time. I had some professors that weren't willing to work with me because of the current status that I'm in. But after a few tries of trying to contact them, they make sure to help me as best as they could. I also was able to talk to some counselors to get extra help, where they referred me to the tutorial center, where I was able to get help with my biology 5 class, which I was able to get a tutor there. And they were also able to help me with at the writing center, which also transitioned online. So I think that everybody was just trying to do the best to help each other and make sure that I passed my classes. And thankfully for the spring and summer, I was able to pass my classes with straight A's. So that it was tough, but at the end, it was all good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad to hear. Alex?
I like what Giselle said. She said in the end, it was all good. I definitely felt that same way. Back in March, we have the initial shutdown when everything first started getting shut down. Like for me in my head, I thought maybe classes would be canceled for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, and we would get back in, but it just stayed shut down for the whole entire semester. We had all of my classes getting transitioned to online. And at first, just like how Giselle said, she said it was intimidating, but it wasn't too terrible. I feel like as long as you are staying in contact with your professor, make sure you're emailing them, and then always staying up to date with Canvas. I had a question on here from, I see Jaylene. She says, is there a link or where exactly where we would go to stay on top of our assignments? That's what Canvas is all about. Remember how maybe if you're coming from high school, if you were doing Atlas to check your grades and stuff like that, now at Fresno City College, what we use is Canvas. From there, you're going to be doing all of your assignments. You can message your professor. You have like a class calendar. You can check your syllabus. For you, when it comes to being a successful online student, it's all about Canvas. That's where you're going to be going for all your assignments from here on out.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And to piggyback off of Alex with Canvas, for those of you who are wanting more information on how to navigate Canvas or how to use Canvas, we do have Canvas presentations going on showing you guys how to do that. So I would highly recommend checking that out. Thank you guys for all those questions or all those answers. One of the biggest things that we want to help students with is kind of giving them tips on tools they can use to navigate or to be successful with online classes. So I know a lot of you guys may have struggled with your online classes this past semester, struggled and had successes. And so what do you guys do? What tools do you guys use to help you stay on top of things and to make sure you guys are set with your classes, right?
Like Erica and Alex mentioned, Canvas is by far the best tool for online classes because right there you have access to all your assignments, you have access to emailing your teacher for any questions that you might have to stay on top of things. You can also check your grades there. So it really is very helpful in times like this because we're not in person and it's just a whole new environment. So that's what really helped me a lot.
Yeah, I feel like communication is a really big aspect of any type of human altercation. Communication is huge. So I feel like being able to communicate with your teachers effectively is a really big tool that you can use because of course you need through online, you're not having that personal experience. So just communicating with your teachers like Ray and Erica and Alex said through Canvas. Canvas is a really big tool.
Thank you.
The tool that worked best for me was my phone. It was my phone because I had a lot of Zoom meetings, so I had to set a lot of timers on my phone. That way I would wake up early or whenever my assignments were due the day before, or like 10 minutes, make sure I 10 minutes before it was due, just to double check I turned it in. So it was my phone. I used the alarms very, very a lot.
Yes, that's helpful. Giselle?
For me, there was a few tools that I used. The main one that I used for me was the tutorial center. I had a biology 5 class, which was a little hard for me to pass. So they were able to give me a biology tutor that helped me pass my class. And I also utilized ETC, which stands for extending the class. They also helped me there to make sure that I pass my exams and my finals. And for my English class, I used the Writing Center. They also transition online, so I would just go on the Writing Center online, and then they would help me get a tutor, which he or she would help me also write my assignments and make sure that my essays were written correctly.
Yeah.
I really liked what Jaden said earlier when he was talking about tools that we use to help us be successful. I feel like communicating is definitely a really good tool for you guys, because I feel like once you're in your Zoom calls and you're with all of your other classmates and you got your professor there and you got the camera on you, it could be kind of like nerve-wracking, and it can be like difficult to ask a question. So always try your hardest to communicate. I know it could be difficult, but communicating with your professor can help out a lot. Also, too, we've all been talking about Canvas. To get into more specifics about Canvas, a tool that I find very useful is downloading the application. If you can go to the App Store right now, there is an application for Canvas. And every time maybe your professor grades a test or an assignment, it'll pop up kind of like how you get a Instagram notification or a Facebook notification. You'll also get a Canvas notification. So download the application now, and you can always email your professors through your phone. You can get your grade through your phone, all that good stuff. Also download the Zoom application as well. I'm sure we're all using it right now to conference right now. This is the same app that you're going to be using when you are attending your classes. So download the Zoom app, download the Canvas app, and always communicate.
Yes, those are all important. Thank you, guys. I know that Giselle mentioned a few support services that she used to help her with her online classes. For the other ambassadors, were there any support classes or support services that you utilized to help you with your online classes?
I'd say the Reading and Writing Center. They helped me write my essays when I really needed help the most, especially online. Towards the end of the spring semester, we all transitioned online, and that was towards me writing essays for my English class for the final. So they really did help me out with that, and that was the biggest one for me.
Thank you.
For me personally, it would be kind of like our ambassador group, because we're kind of a family here. So just being able to see these guys every day and talk to them kind of is a big support, because being at home is kind of like, oh, like, why are we at home all the time? And it kind of gets stale in a way, and it gets boring. So being able to see these guys, they kind of give you a refreshing feel, basically, and like your family. So like having that support system at home is a really big help, because your parents have been through this, and your parents possibly have been through this. And I feel like having that support system at home is also great.
Thank you.
The biggest support system that I used was PASS, which is an English support center. It stands for peer assisted study session. They help with English. They help me write my essays for English, and I would recommend that you guys also, if you guys ever need help for English, that you guys try PASS Center. Yeah, they also transition online, so it would be a great tool for you guys to use.
Thank you.
For me, the biggest support service was my professor's office hours. I was able to log in through Zoom as we're doing here right now. And I was able to speak with my professors and let them know that whatever they uploaded on Zoom, I wasn't understanding them. So they were able to explain to me more thoroughly of what they were trying to get across, what point they were trying to get across. And also if I needed an extension for a due date on an assignment, I would let them know, because there's a lot of things going on right now, so I wasn't able to like do assignments at a certain time. So I would let them know my situation, and they would be super understanding, especially because they know that switching to online was a bit hard for people, especially us students. So I definitely recommend using office hours with your guys' professors.
All right. Thank you guys. So hopefully in the future, you guys, when you guys start this fall semester, you do utilize all the services that we have. We have a lot of great services for students to help you with classes. So make sure to do that. So in talking about the services that we offer and the ways you guys handle your online classes, which can be stressful at times, what are things you guys like to do to kind of, when it comes to taking a break and kind of refreshing and refocusing, that way you guys can make sure you're not burning out when it comes to these online classes? Ray?
Well, we do have a lot of time on our hands, and I understand that most of us are overloaded with classes, trying to get done as fast as possible. So, considering that, you could always just go take a walk, just relax, read a book, work on your car like I do. It's just you don't want to overload yourself because you're always constantly trying to keep up with your classes, making sure you turn everything in on time, and that could really affect you mentally if you push yourself to that limit.
For me personally, I'm a music major, so I make music while I'm at home to kind of just relax me. Or if I don't feel like making music, I'll hop on Warzone and play the game or something like that. So that's how I get away from schoolwork, basically.
How I go out and go running. That's my biggest stress reliever. I go out and I just go run, go in nature, or sometimes I do self-care, I'm very girly, so I'll do like a face mask, if I'm at the spa, because it really, really relaxes me, and then I'm taking care of myself, and I'm also taking care of my body and my skin. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you.
I do to make sure that I relieve all my stresses. I like to go to Woodward Park, and I like to take my dog, and we like to go on very long walks. And I just like to enjoy the scenery there and make sure that I take some fresh air, just so I can just like forget about school for a little bit. So that's what I like to do.
Thank you.
Um,
Alex?
For me, when it comes to relieving stress, I feel like it's important to have a good like daily pattern. Like for me, I like our daily routine is what I meant to say. For me, like I like to wake up, do the dishes, make my bed, clean my work area before I log into Zoom for classes and stuff like that. Take a shower, that way I'm not sitting there all nasty and stuff like that. And just kind of have a daily routine. Aside from that, I when I'm away from home and classes and stuff like that, I like to always definitely work out, get into the sun. I feel like getting some daily sun, some daily vitamin D is very, very good, especially when you're doing online stuff, when you're in front of the desk a lot. And then I'm also, just like Jaden, I'm also a musician too. So I get to express myself through music, express my feelings through music. But yeah.
All right, thank you guys. It is very important to make sure that you guys are taking care of yourself and making sure you're not burnt out. That way you are good for when it comes to these online classes, because sometimes classes can take a toll, and if you are burning yourself out and not utilizing time to care for yourself, then it can be difficult sometimes. So we're gonna go to a few of these questions that you guys have put in the chat. Make sure if you guys have any questions that you guys are putting it through the chat. That way we can answer them for you. So we have a question from Alicia. How much time should you spend when it comes to studying for your classes? Ray?
Oh, well, the only class that really required me to study was math, because we all transitioned online. I usually spend about 10, 15 hours a week studying because that class really, really needs you to do that.
Thank you. Jaden?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you reiterate the question really quick?
Yeah, no problem. So sometimes for some classes, how much study time do you put into your class to help you be successful?
Um, I heard for every unit, you're supposed to put at least 2 hours of studying in. So I try to go off that scale, and I don't try to work myself. I try to kind of pace myself throughout the week, or break it down to where maybe I do 2 classes studying this day and the other 2 classes the next day. So I'm not overloading myself.
Thank you.
I do the same.
Go ahead,
Go
Maria.
ahead. Oh, okay. I do the same thing as Jaden. Although I don't work, I don't study for 2 hours straight. I kind of like divide my time. I'll work for 30 minutes and then study for 30 minutes and then I'll give myself, a little break. That way I'm not studying like the full on 2 hours. And then I keep going with the same routine.
And then we have another question from one of the students. I believe it was George. When you open up your Canvas, only 2 of your classes are showing. And should you be concerned, or when will the others pop up? So it's a very good question. So hopefully all of you know that the semester starts August 10th. So next Monday, our semester begins. So if you don't see your Canvas, all your courses that you're registered in popping up in Canvas right now, they will be showing up on the day that your course begins. So just keep checking. Some instructors have loaded that, but you should be seeing them pop up very soon. Good question, George.
Right. Thank you, Andrea. Also a question about what a hybrid class is. So for hybrid, that is half lecture, half in person. And keep in mind, most of the classes are going to be online this semester. So I don't think we will have many hybrid courses. But to answer your question, hybrid is usually or generally half online and half in person. Thank you. And then going back to a few of the other questions we had, kind of a little fun question for those of you who are unsure of what classes you should be taking or what some good classes for you. What are classes that you guys have enjoyed taking this semester? Some of your favorite courses. I know everyone's majors are different, but some of you guys may have some similar classes or some elective classes. You could say, so what classes have you enjoyed taking during your time at FCC?
I'd say my favorite class was psychology too, because that really does have to do with my major, and it was a class I was really passionate about, and that easily made it my favorite class, because once you put your everything, your all into a class that you really like, then it's easy.
Even though I absolutely hated the class at first, I would say it'd be beginning vocals. Which the reason I like it, it kind of got you to open up and sing in front of other people, because they force you to sing with a group of people, and then you have to stand in front of them and sing by yourself. So I feel like it was a good class for me.
My favorite class was in the summer. It was my first class. It was a communications class. It was persuasion. I really, really loved that class. And I think I got really lucky that I got a really great professor. She was very young and she was kind of like, she was a friend to us. She was really nice. And we learned a lot about how different things around the world use persuasion, how TV people use persuasion, how schools use persuasion. And I really liked it and enjoyed that class. So yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, my favorite class so far taking at Fresno City College in Biology 5. The reason why is because I learned so much about the human body. I was able to help my mom out with her thyroid disease that she has, and I was able to help her out and let her know what to take in order for her to feel better. And also, I love the way that our systems works and the way the organs make sure to run to make sure that we stay alive. And we also got to dissect a pig. So I was able to like open its heart up and see where the right atrium and the left ventricle was. And so it was super fun. So that's been my my funnest class so far, taking at Fresno City College.
For me, one of my favorite classes, one of my most memorable classes would be one of the very first math classes that I took. It was Math 255 with Miss Nader, Professor Nader. They no longer offer this class. They did away with it to kind of help speed up the educational process. However, it was a class that really impacted me because it was a class that was meant for people who had a tough time in math. And for me, I always struggled in math. Like growing up as a kid, I was very math illiterate, and it was something that I was really insecure about, really ashamed about. And it was something that I was really worried about first coming into college, because you got stats and all this other types of math courses that you're worried about. However, this course, it really prepared me for all the upper courses, and it really helped gain my confidence through my educational journey at Fresno City College.
Thank you, guys.
And then Erica, we're going to go back to the chat. We have some students that are asking questions there too. This one from Amy. Amy asks, do you recommend us waiting to get our class syllabus before buying our books, just to make sure we are getting the right or required books that we need? So that's a very good question. And like Erica mentioned before, I'll let some of the ambassadors answer, but I also just want to reiterate, remember, this is a live event. We are having all these events all week. So if you were invited to this through your email, you also see the other events that are taking place today. Like our tutorial center is hosting one right when we're finished here at 1 o'clock. So you can learn about those services. We have a financial aid Q&A that's going to be live. And so make sure that you go to that one as well to get some financial aid questions answered. And then tomorrow, you guys will be receiving another email of what's happening tomorrow. So we do have the bookstore who's hosting a session. They'll be able to let you know how to search for books that way. But going back to the ambassadors, as you're going to start one of your semesters, what do you usually do with your books? Do you buy them before the class? How do you kind of navigate that process?
So usually your teachers will send out a syllabus. Sometimes before you go into the class, sometimes when you're in the class, and that kind of gives you a breakdown of all the stuff you'll need, like the books you'll need, materials you'll need for the whole semester. And it'll give you all your assignments. Well, if your teacher does put your assignments on there, it'll give you all the assignments for the whole semester and everything like that.
I was a bit confused too about that because I was searching up my biology 20 class yesterday, and I figured out that if you go onto WebAdvisor and you go to your class schedule and you actually click on the class, and it'll bring you up all the class information. If you scroll a little bit more down, it'll say book information, and it'll automatically send you to the bookstore, and it'll tell you exactly what book your professor has required you to take or check out.
Giselle, can you share with everyone here how to get to their student schedule? I believe that was one of the questions also asked. How do you view your student schedule?
So share my screen?
No, you could just talk to students about how they get
okay.
there.
So for me, I went to the Fresno City College website, and then I logged into my portal. And then after I logged into my portal, I went to WebAdvisor. And then after logging into WebAdvisor, I clicked on my class schedule. And then I just picked on whatever class that I was wondering about what book. So for example, for me, I didn't know what book to take from my biology 20. So as soon as you click on bio 20, it'll automatically take you to the class that to the bio 20 class. And if you scroll down, it'll tell you what book you're required to take, and once you click on the book, it'll automatically take you to the bookstore.
Thank you. I'll read another question that we got in the chat. Do you got any advice for someone who is very new to using computers? I don't know how to use almost anything. An example would be Microsoft Word, etc. So for any of you students, you know, you may not have had to, a lot of you grew up with computers, but you may had to learn a different app or a different program. So generally, is there anything that you could offer as advice to a new student who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience with computer technology?
I feel like YouTube is a really big source of knowledge. Let's say that, a source of knowledge. You can find basically any tutorial on YouTube, like anything you need to learn. I learned how to do karate on YouTube when I was like 6. So, I feel like just looking up tutorials on YouTube and things like that.
I think Google too. If you search up how to use Microsoft Word, it'll like Jaden said, it'll pop up with tutorials so you're able to see.
Okay, Erica, you can go ahead. Did you have another question for the ambassadors?
Yes, we do. So going back into the questions, I'm sorry. Some of you guys, I know some students right now may be undecided on their majors, and that's okay. For the ambassadors, have you guys always known what major you were wanting to do, or has it changed since your time at Fresno City?
At first I did. My original major was kinesiology, and it was because I had family members who had majors there, and it really interested me for a bit. But then I slowly started to find interest in psychology because I do have a few family members who work at City as counselors. So that kind of influenced me to change my major.
For me, I did change my major. I was a biology major at first, planning to be a nurse essentially, but I found passion in music, so I pursued music after that.
Thank you.
For me, I've always known that I like justice, so I always knew that I wanted to do something in the justice system, so that's why I went into criminology. But also, while taking my communications class, I also gained interest in that, so I'm still, I'm in criminology, but I really like communications.
For me, once I graduated from high school, I was super undecisive of what I wanted to major in. But as I talked to a few of my family members, I have about 5 cousins and 2 aunts that are registered nurses. And as holidays came by and they were like talk to us about like what they do and how they help people and how they feel when somebody comes in injured and they heal them. And I was like super passionate about it, so I decided to do my major as registered nurse. So that's what made me be interested in it.
For me, I didn't always know what I wanted to major in. Just in case you guys forgot, I'm a business major. I just got accepted to Fresno State. Super excited to be a business major over there. But I've transitioned throughout a handful of different majors, and something that I've come to learn, understand, realize is that don't worry so much about what major I should go, or don't worry so much about like being married to your major, but more so just be worried about, make this number one priority, just getting your degree. Your degree should be at the top of your priority, and just keep worrying about moving forward. Because even like right now, if you were to change majors, everyone's taking like possibly like an English 1A class. Everyone needs to take an English 1A class. So you can always change majors, and a lot of the classes that you're taking now will transfer between majors. But yeah.
Thank you.
And then we'll go back to the chat because I know it looks like some of you are probably going on to your schedule right now and looking to see what it is that your schedule says. So if you don't see any courses on your schedule, then that would mean that you're not registered for any classes. But once you are registered for classes and you select the term that you're wanting to view, you will see all the classes that you're registered for. So if some of them say lecture days to be announced or times to be announced, you'll have to remember that, once the decision was made to go online, some of that information stayed the same as our traditional in-person classes. So you will be taking your classes online. They will be through Canvas, and you'll have to access your Canvas course on the first day of school. So that's the main thing, is instead of showing up to school, you're going to show up onto your computer, and you're going to log into your Canvas, and you're going to log in on the very first day. So similar to going in person, that would count as your attendance for that day. You may have an assignment, you may have a discussion board to participate in on Canvas. That's how you will you'll access your classes. There was another good question about a wait list. So what if you're on a wait list and you don't see how do you access that course? I'll put that through. Erica, you could answer that one, or one of the ambassadors could answer that one. What do you do if you're on a wait list right now?
If you're on a wait list, oh, go ahead.
Waitlisted classes, it's kind of basically a waiting game. You're wanting to make sure you're checking your emails constantly, because if you guys happen to get a spot in that class, they only give you a certain amount of days to respond. Otherwise, they move on to the next person in the wait list. So checking your email is key. As far as for me personally, I'm a little bit unsure of when it comes to the day of for the class, because usually and generally when we were in person, you would just show up to that class, and if there was a spot available, then they would get you in. But now that it's moving online, that part I'm a little unsure of. But for now, I would say check your email constantly. Giselle?
No, I was going to say the same.
And so we have another question as far as lectures being on Zoom or Canvas. That is up to your instructor. So for some classes, for example, say a math class, most likely they'll be utilizing Zoom. For other classes, they may just focus strictly on Canvas. So you're wanting to make sure, again, you're checking your emails, you're checking your Canvas. That's how your instructors are going to keep in contact with you guys. So checking those two things are very important when it comes to being successful this online semester. And again, I know Andrea mentioned it. If you don't see all your classes popping up on Canvas, give it some time. It will pop up soon. Some instructors are the ones who manage your guys' Canvas and who manage what's going to pop up or what's not going to pop up. So they may not be ready to show their class yet. Just give it some time. But we have one last question for our ambassadors, and keep in mind, if you have any more questions, keep them going in the group chat. But so far, what has been your favorite memory at Fresno City College?
I have to say my favorite memory here at Fresno City was getting this job, meeting all these people. It really is a new experience transitioning from high school to college, and it can be fun for most, it can be stressful for many. But overall for me, it was very, very amazing getting to meet all these new people, getting used to this new environment. So it was definitely good.
So for me, it wouldn't be just, I can narrow it down to one memory. So I put it in like a collective group, which would be like our 6th grade tours. So our 6th grade tours for me is like, they're fun because you're interacting with 6th graders and they have that little kid energy. So you're walking around, they're pointing out the art. It's just like you get to see a kid's inspiration to go to college, essentially.
Thank you. Maria?
My favorite memory has been presenting in my communications class in the summer. I presented a bunch of strangers, technically, because I didn't know anyone in my class. And I was put in a group with peer guys, and it was very hard because, I was the only girl, and I felt very intimidated. And it was my favorite memory because we made a video a persuasive video, and it was just nice because we got picked. There was like the class had to pick which group did best, and we got picked, and it was really nice because we tried our best in that project and we got the highest grade. So that's my favorite memory.
Thank you.
For me, my favorite memory was how, as I mentioned earlier, that my biology class, we got to dissect a pig, and we actually got to see the heart of the pig, which the heart of the pig is the closest to the human heart. So it was super cool to see like everything and how the heart works. So for me, that was like the best memory that I have at Fresno City College.
For me, the best memory is just pretty much just how helpful everybody was around Fresno City College, how helpful the staff was and stuff like that. I remember there was like one time, I feel like when it comes to being on campus at Fresno City College, I feel like you can go anywhere and ask anyone like anything and they'll be super helpful. I remember there was one time where my car died, the battery died in my car, and I was like stranded. I was trying to get to work. I was like in panic mode. I remember I went to just the library just to kind of ask someone like, where do I go? My car's dead. I don't know what to do. And the person at the front desk, they actually helped to call campus PD for me. And they actually got my battery started, and it kind of changed my whole demeanor to like super panic mode to like relaxed, calm, and it definitely made my day.
Thank you.
So just to reiterate, I know there's a lot of questions coming through about the online classes and when are we going to go back in person? What does the hybrid mean? What does it say? What you're trying to kind of decipher what the notes say in your web advisor right now. So just to be clear, almost everything is online right now. So there are, with the exception of very, very few classes that will be holding some in-person meeting dates. Since you're a new student, a lot of your classes will be, mainly online. So it will not show, if you see a note that says to be determined and there's no meeting times listed, there will be no meeting times for that class. You will only be meeting on Canvas. So as the ambassadors were mentioning earlier, Canvas is kind of your go-to for your courses, but you do that at your own pace. So you really just have to be on top of your due dates and know when things are due. You will not have to go at a specific time. So instructors will usually post that this is what's due on this day at this time or by this time, and you guys will have to manage your time accordingly to get those done. So most of your classes as a new student are going to be solely online, 100% in Canvas. There was another good question about Zoom. Will your lecture be on Zoom or Canvas? Again, some instructors may hold Zoom sessions for office hours, or they may hold some Zoom sessions just to get acquainted with the class, but mostly everything will be in Canvas. And we are doing Canvas tutorials. So if you go back to our webpage when you're done with this session, or if you join the tutorial session, you can check it later, but it will give you our dates and times for our Canvas and our web advisor tutorials so that you can kind of learn how to navigate through Canvas a little bit better and see what the examples are that students are going to be able to show you. But always follow up with your instructors, how they, if they have any other activities they're going to do outside of Canvas, but that will all be posted in Canvas for you. So make sure that you do that. I think that was to answer Ian's question. Let's see, is there any other questions that came in? Victoria says she took a summer class, wants to know when she can check the status. So if they've taken your summer course off of your Canvas already, you won't be able to see it. But if your Canvas course for the summer is still in your Canvas dashboard, you can go in there and you can actually view your grades. So that's the cool thing, is you get to see in Canvas what your status is. So you can check your grades at any time, and you can see how you're doing in the class. So let's see. Was there any other questions? Let's go back there. Erica, did you see any other questions that popped out at you for?
No, we've answered all of them.
Okay, how do you know if you are fully registered? So again, like Giselle mentioned, going back to your student schedule is listed in your WebAdvisor account. So when you log into your WebAdvisor account through your portal, you will click on My Class Schedule and just select the term that you want to look at, and you'll see how many classes you're enrolled in. So if you're in 12 units, remember that's considered full-time. Anything 12 units or more is considered full-time. So you could see that. Let's see. Yes, going back to our wait list. So our wait list does end next Friday. Is that what you, Emily, it'll close next Friday? Is that what you mean? Okay, so if you don't get permission to add this Friday,
Friday,
yeah.
yeah.
So remember, if you guys are still looking for classes to register in right now, you have until the end of this week. So classes are still open for registration. You just log into WebAdvisor and look at that. But it will end on Friday. So they will close the class on Friday. You won't be able to add those classes anymore. And then after that, you will have to add by a permission code. So you'll have to contact that instructor, have them give you an add code, and then that's how you will get into the class. You won't be able to self-register anymore. But yeah, you can email any class instructor, because all that information, the good thing is it's all in WebAdvisor. So you don't have to come to campus and skip from one class to the next, try to find an opening. You can just look into WebAdvisor at the class that you want and email that instructor and see if they have room for you if you're not able to get on that wait list. So we do have a question from Ruben. I'll pose this to the ambassadors. Did any of you guys take History of Rock? Anyone take that? No. There was another question about Communication 8. So Communication 8, I believe, is group communication, right? Yes, so group communication. Did you take that one, Maria?
No, but I know they do a lot of group work in there and a lot of group presentation.
Okay. Good. So Ian asks, for classes that are very hands-on, like automotives, will there be times where we have to go to Fresno City for lab? So that's a very good question. So like I said, most of you will be going on online 100%, but there is the exception of some courses. So Ian, you just have to check your schedule. You have to see if there's anything posted in there for any automotive classes. You have to remember, automotive also is a lecture component plus the hands-on component. So perhaps this semester you'll focus on lecture, and maybe next semester, if we are able to return to campus, then that's when you would focus on your hands-on. But the information in WebAdvisor is pretty updated, so you will see if you do have a in-person meeting date for any automotive classes if you're in. So, okay. Let's see what else. Any other questions? We're still looking through there. We'll go ahead and stay on and answer until 1 o'clock, but for the majority of you, that pretty much does, yes. Did we have another question? Let me unmute yourself.
Yeah, so there was one question that was asked by Alicia. What is the best class to take for nursing if you're a freshman year, like the first class you should take? That's more of a question that you're going to want to follow up with a counselor. There's not really one specific. A lot has to go into it depending on if you took any classes in high school, if there's prerequisites you need to take before you can apply to the nursing program. So I'd highly recommend that you follow up with the counselor for that one. When you go to the RAM Ready page, under which section was it where we had is it the online student services? You can find a little blurb about, or a little brief description of the counseling services. And I would recommend viewing that section over again and then clicking on the links in there that would take you to the counseling options webpage. And then you can try to follow up with one of the counselors in whatever area you need to reach out to someone in.
And then just going back to the class schedule. So if you do not see any classes in your class schedule, again, that means that you are not registered for any classes. So in WebAdvisor, we will be doing tutorials for that throughout this week. You'll be emailed those links. And if classes are sitting in your cart, remember, it's kind of like shopping on Amazon. So you're adding classes to your cart, but until you purchase that, you're not going to get those items. So if you have classes in your cart, it means that you're not registered for those. So you want to make sure that you try to get registered in those classes if there's still openings, and make sure that you find something that is currently open right now. But yeah, if you see classes in your cart but not on your schedule, then that means that you are not registered in those classes right now. So try to get registered as soon as you can. And then Victoria had a question, what is student finance? So Victoria, if you're referring to one of the functions in WebAdvisor, in student finances, well, you'll see some of your student financial information. If you owe any fees or if you need to pay on any fees, that's what you'll see in your student finance. So hopefully we answered that question. And George had another question about direct deposit. So if he applied for a direct deposit on WebAdvisor, how do you know if that's accepted? So if you've applied through WebAdvisor and you went through all of the steps, you added your bank information, you accepted the terms, it should be an automatic process. But anybody, you want to make sure that you follow up with financial aid through the financial aid office. And again, they're doing a live session today at 2:30. You were emailed that link. So that is a really good opportunity to ask your financial aid questions as well. You can email the financial aid office, you can call the financial aid office, and all of their contact information is listed on our RAM Ready webpage. So when you email them, let them put in the subject line RAM Ready question, and somebody will get back to you very soon. And let's see, it looks like we have one more comment / question from Sandy. She received an email stating she needs to log in on time for all of her classes before she gets dropped. How do you log in for attendance if most of her classes are on Canvas? So that's exactly what you're going to do, Sandy. You're going to log in on Canvas. So if you're enrolled in 2 classes, log into the first one, when you get up in the morning, see what discussions are taking place or see what announcements your instructors are making. And then there might be something you need to respond to on that day. And the same for your other class. So when you wake up in the morning, like I think one of the ambassadors said that, have a routine, get up in the morning, pretend like you're going to go somewhere for the day. Get ready, log into your classes, and then that will count as your participation or your attendance for the day. Very good question. You guys have a lot of really good questions, and a lot of us, we have the same questions. So this is kind of the first time we're doing this for online learning. So be patient. Like they said, communication is one of the most important things. Talk to your instructors, get to know your instructors, because they are going to be able to help you transition this time that you go to online learning. Yes. So hopefully we did answer all the questions. If not, we'll hang on here till 1 o'clock and just type your message into the chat. Otherwise, we want you to take part in all of the other live events. So there's one happening at 1 o'clock with the Tutorial Center. We highly encourage you to jump on that one and then come back and join the financial aid. So each one has its own link. Make sure you click on the link, but we're really happy to see all of you. Erica, did you have any other last closing arguments? This isn't a class yet. Did you have any last closing statements for the students?
No, just thank you for joining us, and hopefully you guys check out the other sessions.
Good luck to all of you for your first semester. We're really happy to have you even though you're not on our campus, we are happy to have you as part of our campus, and we really want to support you. So just ask questions. We're all here to help you. This is on behalf of the College Relations Office. So we are the new student office. A lot of you have met with some of us over the summer or before, so you could always reach out if you have more questions as well.
And I'm going to put in the chat right here. If you have a specific question that you need answered, or you would like for someone from our office to follow up with you, I'm going to provide an email address in the chat right now. You guys can go ahead and email us, our office, and then someone will try to get back to you as soon as possible today if you have a specific question that might need more assistance with.
Yes, and I'm also posting in there the RAM Ready webpage as well, so you can have easy access for that. You could download the chat if you'd like to save everything. This event, this session event will be put on our webpage at the end of the week, so you can share it with your friends, you can re-watch it, get some of your questions answered again if you forgot, but we will be posting it onto our webpage by the end of the week. So thank you all for joining us. Yes, Oli, you will be able to watch it. Not today, but you'll be able to watch it by the end of the week. We are also hosting multiple sessions of this, so you can always rejoin that one if you came in late. But we will have 2 other options throughout this week. And again, on our webpage, it lists the schedule of our next times for this ambassador panel.
I put a period in there for college relations. There's no period. It's college relations at fresnocitycollege.edu.
And then Joseph, we'll go ahead and answer that one too. Our class is going to be canceled until the spring. So remember, the classes aren't necessarily canceled. They're just going to all take part online right now. Everything will be online. We don't know what will happen in the spring. So we encourage you all to just continue to check your student email, your college email. That is how the campus sends out all of the important notices that we get. So check that. And then, regularly as we go along through the semester, we really hope we could come back and see you all soon. So as long as you all are doing your part as well and wearing your mask and social distancing, you will help us get back to be on campus, kind of get back to a normal routine. So make sure that you do that. Help us all out. And PE classes, that's a good question, Alicia. What do you do in PE classes? We're not sure right now. So just log in if that class gets loaded into your Canvas. They may have you track your fitness or track different things. So have any of you ambassadors taken an online PE class? Yeah? How did that work?
They do logs, so you'll
Okay.
create like an Excel, and then you'll write down what exercises you did, how many reps and how many minutes, and then you'll turn that in by the end of the week.
Cool. All right. Okay, well, it is 1 o'clock. We want to make sure you get to the other sessions that are here. So we're going to go ahead and end this meeting. Again, thank you for joining us. Keep going through your RAM Ready presentation, and good luck on the first day of your semester. Take care.